Round like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning, like the circles that you find in the windmills of your mind.
Visit StogieGeeks.com/Debonaire for a list of retailers who carry Debonaire cigars. Buy some today and get a little more Debonaire. Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geeks Show. Big shout out to all of our live stream listeners who are going crazy over the contests from both Drew Estate and Tarano cigars.
I think we're gonna have to close this after the show.
I think
it's gonna be
a live audience only.
Yeah, there's a huge response we've had, so thank you to everybody.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening live. And we've got a fantastic segment right now. If you like to drink cocktails, or even if you don't, maybe you're a person who likes to drink beer, maybe you're a person who likes to drink whiskey or bourbon or scotch, I want to encourage you to kind of branch out into cocktails. It's very similar to cigars, Will, in that you may start out with liking one particular kind of cigar and then kind of branch out. It's interesting. I was having a drink with Todd next door before the show. We haven't seen each other in a while. It's interesting. We work next door, but our schedules have been kind of opposite, and we were catching up, and he was telling the bartender, and he was like, yeah, Paul's kind of weird. He drinks everything. Like there's nothing that Paul hasn't found like his niche in. And that's what I want to encourage our listeners to be, both with cigars and for cocktails, Will. So I've got a list of 4, kind of really 3, because the last 2 are very similar, but certainly cocktails that I've been playing around with lately that I think pair very well with cigars, and our listeners probably won't be surprised, at least by the first 2. The last category, you might be kind of surprised, Will, although Stogie Santa's come on the show and drank this drink and really liked it with a cigar as well. So I've also got a list of kind of 2 or 3 ingredients in some sample cocktails that don't really go well with cigars, and that's what spawned this segment. Was our good friend Jack Daniel. That's actually his name, Jack Daniel, not with an S, Jack Daniel, and Apollo Clark, who have come on this show as well as our other shows and come here in studio and made cocktails. And they're making cocktails for the cocktail experience and not really pairing it well with a cigar. And there's an art form to that. And kind of sometimes unbeknownst to them, I'm like, no, I don't want that cocktail because it's not going to go well with my cigar. So that's to set the stage for this segment, Will.
Yeah, I went a little different with what I'm going to talk about, because when it comes to summer, being out in the hot weather,
yes, this makes the
and
cocktail
having a
say
cigar,
yes.
I kind of gave more of the advantage to the cocktail.
I agree.
I'm less worried about it. So mine may not necessarily be the best pairings per se, but they're ones that
yeah, you make an excellent point, because typically summer cocktails, the type of cocktails you'd make in the summer, like let's just get right into it. A margarita is not something that you want to have with a cigar. The sour in components to that drink don't go well with a cigar, in my experience.
Yeah, it's like, for example, one of my favorite summer cocktails is a melon ball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. It's a little too citrusy for the cigar. But it's a great summer cocktail.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Well, so in the summer, you're gonna give an edge to the cocktail as opposed to the cigar. I agree.
Yep.
If you're gonna have something with a little citrus or sour, you want to pair, I think, a stronger cigar with that. Although your mileage may vary, sometimes pairing a lighter cigar like a Connecticut with kind of a bitter or sour drink can work as well. It's much more difficult. So on my list, Will, I think that for the most part, rum, bourbon, and scotch on their own are going to pair well with a cigar. Really, any cigar.
Yep.
they're going to pair well. When you get into cocktails and you got a lot of things going on, the old fashioned for me is one that you've heard us talk about on the show before. I went on a Sharing Your Pairings show with the surgeon and made one live on the air, actually, on that show, so check that out. It's a very easy cocktail to make, and you can customize it to your liking, as with any cocktail, really, Will. It's essentially, you take an orange, you put some bitters on it, you do a cherry, a maraschino cherry, and you add some sugar component. You muddle all that together. You fill up the glass with bourbon. You may put a splash of soda water in it on the top, and then you're off to the races. I made kind of a poor man's old fashioned tonight. I had cherry bitters, I had orange bitters, and I had regular bitters, and I had a little bit of sugar. So you can do it with just bitters. It tends to be a little more, obviously, on the bitter side, and I put some Four Roses bourbon in it. You can vary your bourbons, which will change the drink. So as you get more advanced in your old-fashioned making, you'll know that when you use a sweeter bourbon, you can cut back on the sugar and put a little more bitters. If you use a bourbon that's got a little more punch to it, we use actually some very inexpensive bitters that's got a really good punch on its own. But if you do a nice cherry in the drink, add some sugar syrup to it, like agave nectar is great to use in an old-fashioned, you can counterbalance that and make a really great balanced cocktail. Old-fashions pair, probably my number one drink to pair with a cigar, Will.
It's a great, yeah. I mean, that would have been on my list too.
And it's interesting, kind of number 2 on my list is the mojito, largely stemming from my experiences at Casa Fuente. Now, this is a drink that uses limes in the drink, which is, there are a lot of lime cocktails, and I can't think of the name of it. There's a Brazilian cocktail that uses a ton of limes, and I'm sure people that are listening to this now shouting out the name of the drink. It's a drink from Brazil that uses a ton of limes. The margaritas in this category too, it tends to be too sour to pair with a cigar. However, a mojito, you're mixing mint in with the lime and the sugar, and if you make it appropriately, and that rum kind of adds that sugary component to it as well, those pair very well with a cigar. And of course, that's the classic Cuban drink, and Cuba's obviously known for their cigars, and a mojito, I find, pairs very well with a cigar, even though it has some lime in there, which is not necessarily the best ingredient for a cocktail when it comes to pairing with a cigar.
Yep, I agree.
Were you going to say something? Well, sorry.
Yeah, again, it goes back with the lime piece. Sometimes that citrus component is what I find. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have any citrus component in it.
Right.
But that's what I would say. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, if you're going to do a gin and tonic in the summertime, myself and my family and friends, we're all really big on gin and tonics. And my advice on gin and tonics for you is, if you've had Tanqueray and tonic, throw away what you think about a gin and tonic and use a nice Hendrick's gin or some other kind of gin instead of Tanqueray, because Tanqueray to me tastes like you're drinking a pine tree. It's got that juniper, like really piney taste to it, which I find doesn't pair well with cigars. I find doesn't work well as a cocktail. I really like Hendrick's as my gin of choice. Vodka tonic is okay. So even a gin and tonic or vodka tonic with a lemon or a lime, that can go okay with a cigar. It's not the best drink to pair with a cigar, but like you said, Will, in the summertime, you're going to want to lean towards those summertime kind of drinks.
Agree. Totally agree.
It's interesting, my kind of third category, so old-fashioned, mojito, two very different drinks. My third category falls into the martini category, and those that have watched the show...
I had martini on mine too, yeah.
Martini is a great drink to pair with a cigar. Now, as I've kind of researched for our cocktail show that we may launch someday, and we've actually recorded some episodes of our cocktail show, I've really kind of dug into the martini thing. And everyone kind of has their different religions. It's almost like a religious belief about martinis, Will. And I find that the two different religions are either you're a gin martini or a vodka martini person, and either you're a vermouth person or not a vermouth person when it comes to martinis. And you talk to any bartender or anyone who likes to drink martinis, and they're going to fall in a mixture of those categories. Me personally, I've found that I can do either gin or vodka, depending on my mood. However, with vermouth, I've really fallen to this category that a little bit of vermouth in your martini is where I like to be. There are some people that just they like vodka, right? They
Yep.
put in. We've made these on the show in the past. You've seen Stogie Satan drinking them, right? It's Tito's vodka. It's the olive juice, olive brine. You shake it in the shaker and drop some olives in it, and that's your martini. And those are good. I find a little bit of vermouth takes away a little bit of that bite from the vodka
Hmm.
and smooths it out. And that drink you would not think would go well with the cigar. However, the salty component, as we've said in the show in the past, really complements your cigar. So I like a good martini with my cigar. I like a good martini after a hard day at work. I mean, it's nothing but alcohol in that drink. So it's a great drink. I really like them. In the summertime, I don't often go for a dirty martini, although sometimes I do. I tend to mix it up in the summertime. Bombay Dry is a great gin to use in a martini, especially one with just a lemon twist. Bombay Dry is great for that. But so yeah, to go back to the gin and tonic thing, I use Bombay Dry a lot in my gin and tonics rather than the Tanqueray, which I think is just swill, to be honest with you.
So I have a rule of thumb with the martini though as a summer cocktail. And we can get into the different philosophies, like you said, or the different preferences. But I think the rule of thumb is it's got to be an ice cold martini for
Oh,
me.
the glass, like, so Keith taught me, and Keith's sitting in the
Yeah.
next room laughing, right? Keith taught me how to, he's the one that, like, brought me back around on the martini thing. The vodka or gin has to be frozen. The
Mm-hmm.
glass has to be frozen.
Frozen.
You
Yep.
got to shake the snot out of it,
Yep.
and then put it in the glass. And you got to have your rocks on the side, and you got to add some ice to it as you go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I was going to say. You got to have the rocks on the side. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, because you can't
especially in the
have.
summer, it's got to be kept cold.
Yeah, I think with a summer, like, so when we're talking specifically with a summer cocktail, and that's a theme with most of my cocktails that I would have is it's got to be ice cold.
Absolutely.
Yep, and I'm
Yeah.
big on freezing glasses. I'm not big on ice in a lot of drinks at all. But but yeah,
Now, to kind of instill some of my limited cocktail knowledge on our listeners, the Dirty Vesper is a great drink. It's kind of a variation on a dirty martini. The recipe is really easy. And I'll give you the recipe that I like the best when I have a Dirty Vesper. And the difference between the martinis we've talked about in the Dirty Vesper is the Vesper is a mix between gin and vodka. So you don't have to make your pick between gin and vodka. Equal parts gin to vodka. So it depends on how much of a drinking mood you're in. You want an ounce of vodka, ounce of gin. You want 2 ounces of vodka, 2 ounces of gin, ounce and a half, anywhere in between. Equal parts gin and vodka. I like to use Tito's. Is one of my favorites. I like to use Hendrick's as one of my favorites for gin in that cocktail. So equal parts gin and vodka, and then very small amounts of the other ingredients in this cocktail. So I'll do like a quarter of an ounce of vermouth, a dry vermouth. I'll do a quarter of an ounce of the onion brine. You can buy cocktail onions at any grocery store. By themselves, it's a very, very pungent odor. If you eat a cocktail onion, it's a like unbelievable,
yeah,
overwhelming senses, with that flavor. So I do a quarter of an ounce of the onion brine, and then I do a quarter of an ounce of the olive juice as well in my Dirty Vespers. And I'll kind of intermix. Maybe I want, some olives or stuffed olives with it, or a cocktail onion and a lemon with some olives. You can kind of mix up what you add as a garnish. But I found that mixture, basically ounce and a half gin, ounce and a half vodka, quarter ounce onion brine, quarter ounce olive juice, and quarter ounce of vermouth, is a great, great cocktail. And that pairs very well, in my opinion, with cigar, especially one that kind of has that earthy component to it.
hmm
That earthiness really complements this drink because it's kind of in a similar kind of family for me.
yeah, I agree.
So that's a very popular James Bond drink is the Dirty Vesper, right?
Yeah,
And you can put that over. Sometimes I put my Vespers over ice. Some recipes call for just put it over the rocks. pour your rocks right in, or drink it as a martini. An interesting drink that I had recently, Will, I had a pickle martini.
A pickle martini.
Pickle juice martini. And it wasn't the when you get the like gherkin pickles and the pickle juice looks like a lime green.
Right.
It had no color to it whatsoever. And they used very fresh pickle juice. It's hard for me to describe like the kind of the pickles that you buy at the supermarket versus like the really fresh pickles. Like there's a difference if you think
like
about
I call them like deli pickles.
Yeah, it was a deli pickle. And it was fantastic. They did a salt and pepper rim on it. And that, I think, would actually go really well with a cigar. That was really good.
Yeah, no, that's it's interesting you said that. Because in Bloody Marys, I do like pickle juice, and I wonder if I used that kind of pickle juice, what kind of effect it would have on it.
Yeah, if I don't have fresh pickle juice, the deli style pickle juice, I'll use the olive juice instead.
The olive juice, yeah.
Yeah, in my Bloody Marys, which I still haven't really found a cigar that goes well with a Bloody Mary. Speaking of that, and that's kind of it's in my wheelhouse of like drinks that don't really go well with a cigar. We talked about lime, anything with a lemon, and a lemon drop martini can be really good. And I don't like to put a lot of sugar. I mean, you can put some triple sec in, you can put some sugar in it. But if you take vodka or gin and squeeze some lemon juice in and just shake it, that's a great summer drink, Will. But it just, that lemon does not pair well with a cigar at all.
It's citrus.
It's a citrus.
It's a citrus again. Yep, that's what you're getting at. Have you tried I mean, I'm sure you have tried it, but I think it does pair better with a cigar. Is with Bloody Mary Woodford Reserve.
Yeah, I have tried bourbon
because it gives it more of a smokiness to it.
It does. It does.
Which I'm not saying it's perfect, but I do like that smokiness from the Bloody Mary that way.
I like making the Bloody Marys with bourbon. I've done that in a pinch when I've run out of vodka. You can actually make a Bloody Mary with gin, vodka, or bourbon, for that matter, and it does come out really good. And in fact, most people can't taste the difference really right away.
Yeah.
Like my sister, for example, she loves Bloody Marys, and I made them one time, and she's like, "This is really good." I'm like, "Yeah, it's bourbon instead of vodka," and she's not a bourbon drinker, and she's like, "Wow, that's really good."
Right.
The tomato juice and all the other stuff you add to the Bloody Mary it can mask a lot of that.
It does, and you're gonna laugh, but with the V8, actually, it works very well with the Woodford Reserve.
I use V8 pretty much exclusively in my Bloody Marys.
Interesting, because I took some flack on that, but I'm V8. I'm all V8.
You know what it is, dude? As I get older, like clam juice and clams, it depends on how I eat them. Like if they're cooked, I'm pretty much okay. But like clam juice or raw clams just doesn't agree with me anymore. I'm old now.
I put a splash of the Clamato in it.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, and I like it. It tastes good. It just irritates my stomach.
But again, the Clamato has some of them are there's different Clamatos out there. You don't want the lime or the lemon ones, is what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but I put a splash in because actually I had a Bloody Mary. We had Bloody Mary bar over at my local cigar place yesterday.
Nice.
And a bunch of people actually woke up at like 8 a.m. to watch golf. I didn't get there quite that early. But, But I'm not watching golf at 8 a.m. But so they opened the bar at 8 a.m. They have one of the greatest Bloody Mary bars I've seen. They just have like hundreds of 100 things out there.
Yeah, Bloody Mary is all about like all the different ingredients you put in them.
Yep, I mean
I've seen like fried chicken and mini cheeseburgers on top of a Bloody Mary.
Wow, I mean they had crawfish yesterday, which was interesting.
That's awesome. Shrimp. I like shrimp in my Bloody Mary.
Yeah, I know you're a big shrimp guy with the Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Do you find a cigar that pairs well with a Bloody Mary, Will?
You know, actually, I'll tell you the one that does is the Kentucky Fire Cured.
Oh, I can see that.
Especially the way I'm doing it with the Woodford Reserve. It actually goes real good with it.
Yeah.
Where actually it's probably a more enjoyable experience I have with the Kentucky Fire Cured. And I'm sure it's obviously the flavors are playing on each other. But I was actually pretty pleased with that. I kind of consider Kentucky Fire Cured, though, more of a winter smoke.
Yeah.
Like it's more of a winter pairing, cocktail pairing in my book.
I'm going to have to try that, Will.
Yeah, it was. I liked it a lot.
Friday is like Bloody Mary Friday here in the studio.
Yeah, for folks who haven't seen, like there's a refrigerator in the back, and Paul's got the full arsenal of I mean, everything in there. I mean, I was popping some of those olives with the blue cheese and stuff in
Oh
there.
yeah, with
Yeah, there's a
olives,
full
horseradish,
Uh-huh.
the spices, bacon,
Yep.
shrimp. Yeah, we go all out with that.
Yep. Yep.
Well, cool. I'm glad we were able to do a cocktail segment on the show tonight. I think it's
Yeah.
important to educate people.
Yeah, we'll have to
And
do like a fall and a winter one, I think, too.
it does
'Cause I
depend
think
on
it does
time of year.
change a bit, yeah.
It
But I
does.
say, like I said, my rule of thumb, cold. Got to be cold.
In the summertime, got to
Yep.
be cold. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, with that, we're going to take a short break. Come back with our Stogies of the Week. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.